Hello, my friends. Today is the second session of marketing research and application of marketing research tools for startups. Last time, as part of session one, we heard from Dr. Preet Singh regarding the foundation level applications of marketing research. Today, he will talk about advanced level application of marketing research for startups. I hope in last 1 week you have done the homework given by Dr. Preet Singh, and you have developed some idea and done the marketing research and developed the market plan or kind of a develop the market size for that product you have identified. And today Preet Singh will take it forward and will make you familiar with different applications, and also through case study approach he will explain how you will use the marketing research tools to further define and identify the right market. So I will request Dr. Preet Singh for uh, taking the session forward.
Thank you, Deepan. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a good session. It was nice. I got a lot of people talking to me on Twitter as well as on YouTube itself, sharing what they think they could take away more from this session or what they already learned and how they would want to implement that. I did get a number of requests around covering something for, something that is in the idea stage and not something at a more advanced stage. So we've tried to keep that in mind today while discussing that. So we will be doing a case there. Last time we had some bit of homework, if you remember, around doing a exercise to identify the positioning for some products around you. I hope some of you have done it. You can share about those in your YouTube comments, or you can tweet. Howsoever, it will be nice to share it with the community. This way, people get multiple perspectives for the same thing, and you understand whether you're thinking on the same lines or not. The second thing being, we did get some requests around where do we start? Like, what happens? Like, okay, we understand that market research is important. Where do we start? Where do we go from here? So what we'll do today is we'll cover some practical aspects of this. And I guess we'll just start with sharing the screen, right? Great. So market research, second session for startups, mostly from a case study point of view of doing something from the basics. So understand that this is just indicative, and howsoever your idea, your product, your service is, this will change, right? The broad aspects remain the same, but it is like an equalizer. Individual tabs will keep moving based on your product or service or market, right? So I hope you remember basics. What is market research? Who is going to buy your product, right? Who can, who could, who you will reach, who you can attract. All that comes under market research. Simply answers the question, who will buy your product, right? Another important aspect, I got some of these questions on Twitter as well as on YouTube. When do we do market research? And I guess there is some misconception that we do market research at the start of the project. Like, we do market research when we are starting up, when we are thinking of what to do. But market research is something that is continuous, right? Not even continual, continuous. Before you make a product to your final launch, you continue doing market research. So market research not only includes market sizing, scoping, it also includes what people think, what your customer thinks about your product, right? In these sessions, we've only covered the initial bit, like, what to do before that, because, most of us are at the initial stage. But remember, even when you've launched, even when you've started getting customers, you need to keep doing this research to understand what the customer feels, what other things the customer wants, what are the needs, what new markets you can open up. With COVID-19, a lot of new segments have opened up, a lot of things have changed. So remember that you need to do market research all the time, right? It's like saying, ki, How often do I need somebody on my website, right? So you don't need a person, a tech person to make a website once and then go off in hibernation, right? You need to keep updating your website. You need to be on top of it. You need to make sure that there are no bugs. Market research is also very simple. Do not look at it as a one-time exercise. Market research is like technology. It's like your website. It's like your app. You continue working on it. And each time you put in some effort, you see results, right? So you know what's happening. As I mentioned, people change, preferences change, competitors emerge. Competitors emerge all the time, Tomorrow you get one competitor and all your market research exercise has gone out the window, right? So you need to do that exercise again. These are important things that you need to know. This is just a recap. I hope you remember how we had that pyramid for mutual funds. And, we have a total population. We see people who can pay, people who can afford. We see, the people that we can reach. How many people can we reach? Do we have enough marketing distribution network in Coimbatore? If not, then we have to exclude that from our analysis, right? And of course, there are other factors that you have to take into account. So this other factors is where we all need to think, right? I can give you a template for almost everything, but your product will always require more and more things. Your product will require critical thinking that only you and your team will have. So once we start doing today's case, we will see more of these. Keep in mind loyalty, trend, and law. Last time we also discussed whether it is legal for people to absorb your product or service. For example, a bike taxi might not be legal in some states, right? So you need to account for those things. So those states go out of your analysis. So that is how we narrow down the pyramid. In terms of last time's pyramid, somebody did post a question that I guess you don't need to have an insurance policy for investing in mutual funds. I totally agree with you. The pyramid is just a means to make all of us understand how we narrow down, how we come from 130 crores to whatever amount there is, right? And these are all things that narrow your possible market. Please understand, we are not saying that we will only cater to people who have an insurance policy. We are saying that people who have an insurance policy are more likely to invest in another financial product, such as mutual funds, right? So this is the critical thinking part, that the product or service owner will be able to distinguish better. I think these people will, these people wouldn't. This will come as we do the case, right? Important bit, I hope you remember segmenting, targeting, positioning, segmentation. I hope some of you can recollect, is to divide the population into parts. Target is, of course, choosing which part is relevant with you. And position is, this was part of the homework as well. So position is what your product conveys, what emotion your product evokes in the users, in the people, right? So with this, let's move on. I thought we would start with a more interesting concept today. And that is of Drake's equation. I don't know how many astro people around, but Drake's equation is basically, we've all thought, is there life outside of our planet? And a lot of scientists have spent time, sometime in 1961. Frank Drake came up with the equation that said, let us look at, what are the total number of civilizations that we can talk to, and just take a moment and think how we can arrive at this point. How do we get a planet? We get a planet when there is a star and there are bodies around it, so that there is an Earth-like system where you get heat, right? So the first is, what is the average rate of star formation? Of course, this is a very high number, right? Pay attention, because this is how we will be doing our case, right? The second is the fraction of planets that have stars, right? There are, let's say, 100 stars in our galaxy. Of course, there are many more, 100 billions maybe, but let's use 100. So there are 100 stars in our galaxy. How many of those stars might have planets, right? Then in that planet, we will see that how many of those planets may develop an ecosystem, right? So for example, I don't know if you know the stat, but if the Earth was 10% closer to the sun or 10% further from the sun, we wouldn't have been able to develop life, right? So as per our current understanding, scientifically proven understanding, we need water, we need a temperature range. So how many of those? So let's say we have 100 planets. Out of those 100, we have 100 stars. 50 stars have planets. Out of the 10 planets that each of the 50 has, which makes 500, let's say half of them have conducive environment. So 250 planets have conducive environment. Then we'll also have to see how many of them actually had life. Just having the atmosphere is not enough. How many of them had life? Let's say half of them had life. So that's 125. Then we have how many of them have developed intelligent life, right? So the first life forms were unicellular organisms, right? Those cannot communicate with us. So we narrow it down further that this has to be intelligent life, right? Then we also have to see how many of them were intelligent enough to develop communication, interplanetary communication, right? So that further narrows it down. Let's say 0.5 twice, we are down to 30, right? And then we also have to see what is the length of survival of these civilizations. It has to be long enough for that to overlap with us and for us to have communication. If they made all this, if they were like a very, very smart species, but they existed 100 years ago, then 100 years ago, we were in no position, right? So this is how we narrow in. We look at what are the factors that are changing this, and it narrows down, right? This is Drake's equation. It's pretty famous. Look it up if you don't know it. I've taken, of course, this from SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence Institute, right? In market sizing, how we use this is that we say the total size, the total number of people who are going to buy my product is going to be the total population, right? Now this population is going to be determined by your strategy, by your product, right? It could be the population of the world, population of India, population of Delhi, population of Najafgarh, population of, let's say, B block in Najafgarh, right? So we need to see what you are selling, right? The proportion of people who can pay for this, the proportion of people whom we can reach, the proportion of people who would be interested, and of course, accounting for other factors. My commerce friends or friends who studied economics in class 11, 12 understand that other factors can change a lot, So for other factors, you can have trends, you can have interest, you can have loyalty, a lot of things like that, right? As I mentioned, so just one or two important points. The population that might be interested would also depend on your segmentation. Let's say we all have 5 traits. We all have name, we all have location, we all have gender, we all have age, right? Now, if you segment a product based on gender, right? So like we took the example of Peabody last time. So they've segmented it based on gender. Females are more likely to use. So let's say they had segmented based on age, solely age, right? So their segmentation would have been different. So their target population would have been different, right? So your segmentation will decide this proportion, right? And again, what percentage can you reach with your geographic spread? Other factors include trends, other barriers also. It is possible that the product you're using is something that is approved by law. I don't know how many of you've noticed, but whenever you sit in an Uber in Delhi, right, Uber or Ola, you see a small wired meter at the front of the cab, right? That is because the cabs that were allowed to ply before Uber and Ola came in had to have this 1 meter. In an auto, this is very common. Every auto meter is very similar, right? There could be just 3 or 4 original equipment manufacturers who are approved by the government, right? So you need to take these factors into account when you are producing something. Now, again, if you see this auto example that I'm giving you, an auto meter, right? This meter has to conform to government criteria, right? Government standards. Now, if it doesn't, then you need to change your position. If, let's say, you're making a meter in a way that all users can use their phone, and on the phone they can use the app, and they will get this amount on app, right? Then your position is different. Then you're not looking at a legal compliance, right? At the same time, if you want to give this as a compliance requirement, then it has to conform, right? So at each step of the market research, you have to go back to the drawing board. It is not a one-time exercise, it is a loop, right? It is a loop, understand? And we will come to this point again and again because it's important. Understand this slide well. we are basically using a series of multiplications to understand how we calculate our market size, right? Okay, let's do a small case. I'm not sure if you can read the title at top, but this case that we're going to do today is, let's say, a baby product. In fact, this is
Dr.
based on
Preet,
somebody's request
Dr.
on
Preet,
Twitter. Yeah,
Dr. Preet, I just want to understand,
yeah,
consider, as you mentioned, there are so many factors. Consider a situation that when population is not aware about their need, and you
yeah,
generally, most of the startups case, that is innovation, and when it is innovative product, and there is no market trend, and there is nothing like established market trend, and most of the innovation, they are trying to meet the something undiscovered need, but that problem exists in the society, right? In that case, how you will see and where you will fit, that is
sure.
my
That's
curiosity.
actually a really, yeah, that's a really good question, Deepan. Thank you. So I don't have the slide ready with me, but I can give you a matrix if you are with me. If you can draw that matrix with me, let me see if I can draw it right now. Uh, uh, if my screen gives me that option. No, I don't think my screen gives me that option. Uh, so okay, just draw this matrix with me. Let's classify need into a known need and a latent need, right? This is what you're saying. There is a known need and a latent need. Uh, so these are two boxes, right? Known, latent, two boxes. Similarly, your innovation on solving this, right? It could be a method that uses technology, or it could be a method that uses innovation. Now, that uses execution, right? So it could be innovative in terms of technology. It could be innovative in terms of business model, revenue model, service delivery, right? Uh, I'll give you an example. Think of Zomato, right? How Zomato came in, not what it is right now, not in the COVID crisis, but just think of Zomato. Zomato was essentially a listing of restaurants. As simple as that. Zomato would just list menu cards of restaurants. You had to call them yourself. You had to place an order, and it would be mostly the restaurant's responsibility to update things there because they would be getting business, right? As simple as that. I'm talking about 2013-14, before the online delivery from Zomato started as well, right? So imagine somebody in Zomato, imagine Dipinder Goyal starting out this thing, right? Let's look at whether this was a latent need or a known need, right? We all used to order from outside, right? And I'm guessing everybody's parents or elder siblings had some of the other favorite restaurant that, let's order from maybe Navedyam, let's order from Sagar Ratna, right? So one, we had limited set of options, and a lot of times we would have been here, I don't want to order from this place, I want to order from a different place, but what other place is there? And how would word get around? I would meet you and you would tell me, Preet bhai, do you know about this new restaurant? Saudi is a great place, yeah. The dosa is amazing, the idli is great, right? And I would add it to my repository. We had telephone diaries in which pamphlets from restaurants would be kept, right? Or, maybe under a magnet on the refrigerator, ki these are the 5, 10, 50 places that we can order from. We used to get these pamphlets in the newspapers, right? So that was something between a known and a latent demand. We knew there was a need for this. The need wasn't clearly articulated, right? But we knew there was a need. We knew that, yes, people order. We knew that people require menu cards because, we know that in almost every middle class household, we had these pamphlets that used to come when we used to order or from newspapers, and we used to try and we used to rate or tick mark, or we used to know, this is a great place to order. People used to go around for recommendations and all, right? Now, if you look at what innovation Zomato did an execution-based innovation. There was very little technology component in putting up menu cards of restaurants. Of course, there is a UI and it is tech-enabled, but it is not a technology that Zomato was selling in the initial part, right? So it was execution-based, right? Now, understand that all the math, all the calculus in the world cannot give you a confidence interval of 100%. That doesn't even happen in statistics, a lot of us might be researchers watching today. Your best research, your best paper, management science, nature science, right, only says that we fail to reject this hypothesis at this confidence level, at this p-value, right? Academics and entrepreneurship have one major difference. That difference is leap of faith. You know, all these numbers will give you some degree of confidence. Let's say 60%. If you are very good, 75%. 75 to 100 will always be the entrepreneur's leap of faith. And that is where it is your call. Otherwise, machines could start up, right? Machines would have become entrepreneurs. Machines are not, because you as an entrepreneur will have to take that call. You will have to say, like Dipinder Goyal said sometime back, everybody orders from home. My product is a known need. My product is a latent need. My product is a need. I am happy with that. I know that people are currently following this in a different way. I am going to cater to everybody. That is something you need to take care of. The whole part about getting funds before you have your product hitting the market is for this, is to make sure that your product reaches people for which this is a latent demand. We did not really open yellow pages a lot of times and say, ki, I want to know all restaurant listings in Delhi and then order, right? But we knew that we need something like this.
Thank you.
You know, one more is, take the example of Siri. You know, on every iPhone you have Siri, right?
Yes. Yes.
Is Siri a known one?
Yeah, I think it is.
Or you know, maybe Cortana. Yeah, whatever is the AI thing that you have. Maybe a lot of you also use Alexa or Google Home, right? Did you ever hear your mother say, if I only had a machine to talk to that could set a reminder or play music, my life would have been easy? No. Said no one ever. A mother or anybody who stays at home could have complained that I want to talk to you. You know, mothers and fathers like to talk to their children. Nobody wants to talk to a machine, right? So this was a very, very latent demand. How do you set a reminder, right? So you go to your phone, you click, go to reminders, you go to this, you go to that, and all those things, right? With Alexa, you can just say, Alexa, set a reminder, right? So that is still a very latent demand. That is totally latent. But if you look at the innovation side, it is tech innovation. What Siri can do today is what movies used to be made on 15 years ago. You know, I can just say, hey Siri, message Deepan, I will be running late. You know, and it will be done. It will be done. I guess your phone will just ring now because Siri did it, right? So you need to understand what sort of a product this is. Now, tell me, will you pay for Siri? I don't think so. I don't think anybody buys an iPhone saying, yeah, isme Siri hai, I want to buy an iPhone for this, right? If you have a very latent demand, right, from the customer, people will be very, very less willing to pay. If you have a known demand, on the other hand, they will pay, right? Even we could actually do a longer session on this. I have like a complete segment that we do around this. We could do a longer session on this. If you're interested in this, just drop me a line on Twitter and we can schedule something, right? Okay. Coming forward. So we have a product, baby product, because somebody on YouTube mentioned that, you know, they want to look at something for babies. Let's look at a baby product. Let's look at a stroller, right? A stroller is basically a pram. British English calls it stroller. British English calls it pram, and US English calls it stroller. Basically like a small buggy in which you put the baby. It has 4 wheels. You can guide it around, and, you know, parents take it all over the place. When you have to take your small toddler for a walk in the park, when they can't walk so much, you take them in a stroller, right? You can look up stroller if you're not familiar with this. Or any product, right? This is a case study where you have to substitute your product here, right? The first and foremost thing that you need to do is get clarity on the product, right? I'm assuming a lot of you are in college, so you would have seen probably your elder siblings' children using strollers, right? Strollers are of various types. I don't know if you've seen that. You've got these new fancy strollers where instead of having handles like this, you have handles like these, and you can control the direction. So it becomes like a small cycle for the kid. You control the direction of where you are going. So it makes navigation easier, right? The other thing here becomes on other components that you can change. There are some really nice colors, some of them are flexible. So you need to first get clarity on the product that is in your head. Please do not develop a prototype without doing market study. You can develop a proof of concept, yes. You can develop an academic paper, yes. But do not spend money on prototype before doing the first set of market study. Of course, when we develop a prototype, we will again do another set of market research, right? But before you delve into these things, you need to do a study, right? That's the first step. Get clarity on the product. Get a plan in place. You should know, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. This is what is required. This is my success criteria and this is my failure criteria, right? So somebody asked me, ki, what is a good market size to do a startup, right? It's a good question, right? We'll get the answer today. If we don't get the answer, let me know. But I have tried to answer this question today. So you need to define that success and failure criteria in your plan. You need to identify the resources, right? You have to identify ki this is where I will get data from. These are my 30 people that I will do a focus group discussion with. These are the 500 audience that I will do a survey with, right? We'll try to see what happens at the early stage. We got a lot of requests for that, but these are important things that you have to know at every stage, right? Loop back. As I said, loop back. Remember to loop back, because a lot of what you discover in your market study is going to take you back to the drawing board, right? And we will see what happens. It is like coding. Every time you enter something, you see, oh, there is a bug. You go back, you change something. Sometimes you realize, oh, this functionality is not possible. Do we add a new package, or do we change our problem statement? Do we change our data? What do we do, right? And it is like that. It is a lot of mental exercise, right? Okay, let's say clarity on the product. What are the aspects that you need to know about the product when you get clarity? This is very indicative. Your product will have a lot more, right? Okay. What is your price point? That's the first point. Price point, this pram stroller, how much is this for? These figures are in INR, by the way. So, is it a 2,000 rupee, 3,000 rupee, 10,000 rupee, 15,000 rupee, 50,000 rupee? I don't know, maybe for 1,00,000, whatever is your price point, right? You need to decide on that, right? And I will take you through an important aspect here of why you need to generate options in this, right? Second is, what is the utility? What are you giving? What is it that you're giving to the customer, right? Are you giving them convenience? This is the pram that will fold into maybe the palm of your hand, and you open it and it becomes like a long pram, right? Or are you giving durability? Are you saying that, this is your first kid, your grandchildren will also use this pram? And if this sounds funny to you, just ask your grandparents or your parents, what is the positioning of a Godrej Almira? Godrej has this steel or iron Almira that used to go when somebody would get married. It would be used by their children, by their children's children. The valuables would be kept there, and durability and reliability was something that Godrej gave, right? Positioning of a product. What is the utility you are giving, right? What is the innovation? So we discussed the innovation matrix of latent and known demand, technology, and execution. Similarly, you have to decide on the innovation here. Are you coming up with an awesome distribution model? Are you saying that, I will distribute this product to every district in the country? Or are you saying my product is so amazing that it continuously monitors the essential statistics of the baby, and it tells the parent on an app that your baby is doing fine, that your baby wants to sleep, but probably resting, that your baby is tired? You need to decide on that, right? And what is the cost for you to produce this product? If you are using, let's say, rare earth minerals, then of course your price point is off by, I don't know, maybe a few thousand easily, right? So you need to decide on these. And again, these things will come in together. You cannot decide on one and let's say what happens to the other. Each thing will impact the other. Are you getting it? Okay. So this is why you really need a set of options. You really need a set of options. And how do you make these options? We discuss some price points. Let's say you say, okay, I can have a price point that is very high. I can have a price point that is medium, and I can have a low price point. It is necessary that you do this exercise before you get a prototype. Otherwise, you cannot choose between these price points. Otherwise, my product is this, this, and this, right? And you will see why that is harmful very soon, right? So let's just take this one at a time. Take a moment. You can also read the table. I'll also take you through it. If your price point is high, right, then your positioning has to be a strong brand that gives reliability, that gives a lot of convenience, right? Because you're targeting a market that is very rich, right? You need to give them a lot more convenience. If your price point is medium, then availability is very important. Distribution network is very important. For any B2C product, any business to consumer product, distribution is very, very important, right? You will have to, of course, give freebies, right? Free stuff is good. You have to give, I will give you a subscription to a newspaper. I will give you a subscription to a baby magazine. I will give you maybe some baby clothes, maybe a baby voucher, whatever, right? You need to give some colors. If your product price is low, then you are playing on affordability. Your product is affordable to people who do not have all this money, right? The second thing comes is utility. Now, this will of course closely depend on your price. So for example, if you're looking at a highly priced product, then your utility has to be one, definitely a brand. Second, flexibility. You need to be very, very giving to the customer. In case of a medium priced product, your utility is, it's a quick fix. Yes, it'll get sorted easily. The distribution channel is amazing. For every B2C product, business to consumer product, every business to consumer product, you need to make sure your distribution is on point. Finally, for a low price, affordable product, your product only has to do as promised. It is fine if it's not durable. It is fine if the colors come off. When you talk about affordability as being your position, as being your strong point, then it has to be very cheap and slightly durable. It need not be like the best. Everybody knows they're not paying for the best, right? In terms of innovation, for a highly priced product, you need a brand more than you need innovation, right? Even if you have very little innovation, it will just work fine. Of course, medium ke liye medium chahiye hoga. For a low price product, you would need a lot of innovation. Why? Because you would need to get this cost for yourself under control. So your innovation for an affordable product, if it is more affordable than other products, it has to be at your end. It has to be in how to develop that product or service, right? So that requires a fair level of innovation. It cannot simply be a business model innovation. It cannot be just an execution innovation. It has to be a good technology breakthrough that you have that reduces your cost, and you are passing that reduced cost to the customer, right? Durability, of course, could be key. If you're looking at the Godrej model, then it could be, your grandchildren will also use it. It could be, for one kid, this stroller will not give you any problems, right? Of course, for a medium thing, it could be, it is good for 2 kids. You can have a kid right now, a kid 4 years later, and you will, the stroller will work, right? So usually, if you look at the segment based on the prices, the segment for the high price point will be rich kids, rich people with kids. For medium, it will be the middle class. For low, it will be lower middle class. But you're forgetting something. This is a product with kids. The best thing about products with kids is people are willing to spend out of their budget as well, right? Which means that the upper middle class is also willing to buy a product that you might have only for the high income group. Because people are aspirational for their children. People want to spend more, right? Similarly, your average middle class, which is middle class, will also buy your medium product. The lower middle class and above will get your affordable product, right? Okay, we'll just look at one aspect right now and we'll see how we can narrow down our population based on that. Remember how Drake's equation, we used intelligent civilization, civilization that will invent communication and all that. In this case, what we are doing is, let us look at your price point, right? Let's say we have a price point of 25,000, very super premium, amazing product, right? You need to make an assumption right now. What percentage of their monthly income would parents spend on a stroller? Take a moment and answer this. Right? Okay. So you need to find out this number, whatever this number is. But let's say your price point is 25,000. What percentage of monthly income? Like let's say somebody earns 100 rupees. What percentage of their 100 rupees will they spend on a stroller? Will they spend 2 rupees, 3 rupees, 5 rupees, 10 rupees, right? So let's say we take an assumption that 5%, people who have, people who spend 5% of their monthly income on the baby stroller. This might be low, this might be high, it is totally up to you. You must understand that when people have a baby, they have a lot of other expenses also, right? They have vaccination, they have food, they have clothing, they have celebration. They probably need some domestic help at home. They can't go to office. They need to buy more stuff. They need to get cleaners. Yeah, just a 5% per month, 5% of their monthly income assumption at a price point of 25K, we get, take a 5% assumption, right? That somebody would spend 5% of their monthly income on a stroller. This might seem a little less to you. This might seem more to you. It's totally up to you. You will create an entire matrix of these options of low, high price points, different monthly income assumptions. You need to take into account that when people have a baby, they have more expenses in terms of, medical expenses, getting clothes for the baby, more food, and there are other capital goods that you require for a baby, not just a stroller. You probably need a crib, you need a bed, you need a bed sheet, you probably have domestic help also, and those things as well, right? So at this level, if our price point is 25K and we are assuming 5% of their monthly, it means we are targeting people who earn 5 lakh rupees a month or more, right? 5 lakh rupees a month or more. Do not bother about the specific numbers in this case. Just understand the process and be with me in this. Whatever your product service is, whatever your assumptions are, it will change. Okay, so don't bother on this. Just be with me on this, right? So we have now received 5 lakh rupees monthly jiska salary hai, wo person can afford our awesome product. Also, we need a nice name for our product. Let's call our product the MH stroller. MH stroller, just a random name. So people who earn 60 lakhs a year can buy the MH stroller, the best in class, top quality stroller, right? Now you have to tell me how many people earn this money. How many people earn 5 lakh rupees a month? And where will you get this data from? Take a moment. I will of course give you the answer, but take a moment. Think. Please think. Where do you start from? Right? If you can't get the exact number, think of a proxy number, right? If you can't get, this is the number, think of a proxy number. So proxy number here could be key, what do people who earn 60 lakh rupees a year, what other things do these people do that I can trace? Things I can think of top of my mind, people who would have bought a luxury car in the past 3 years, right? They can definitely afford my pram, my stroller, MH stroller, sorry, right? So I can get data, how many Mercedes, Audi, BMW, not their base entry models, but their higher models, 5 Series, 7 Series, Q7, A6, A8, Mercedes S-Class, E-Class, how many of those models were sold, right? That is a proxy model, right? Is there another proxy? I could also look at property transactions. People who bought a very expensive house in the past 15 to 20 years, can I get those numbers? And this might not be as hard to come across if let's say that in UP, the Judges Bungalow Road is very pricey, it's very prestigious, right? Look at the past 20 transactions there and these are the 20 top households. Similarly, you identify these, you go to, let's say, Magic Bricks or one of the other startups that is collating property prices and look at people who buy these costly properties in the past 15-20 years and you have a number, right? So this is how you think of a number. A lot of market research happens just within your head, right? Thankfully, in this case, we have a good idea that is called as Google. So let's just Google income tax, how many people earn X amount of money, right? So this is just more of a stroke of luck that, it struck me while I was thinking about MH Stroller, that income tax releases data for number of taxpayers in each bracket, right? This is not proxy data. This is exact government data. You can take this data to court, by the way. So this is that strong, that solid of a data, right? You just Google it. Of course, we could have Googled to begin with. We are just lucky that this data is available. It is better to think also, right? Or at least jot things down that, I will look at A, B, C, D, E. It might help to get this data plus the other data, right? It is always better to triangulate, right? Just like our cell phone positions, right? So I Googled this and, there are multiple results that I am getting and I can see that income tax return based results are available. So let's say we click on any one of those and actually that slide hasn't come, but okay, I'll just give you the number that there are 1.2 lakh people who earn in our salary range. What is our salary range? People who earn 60 lakh and above, right? There are 1.2 lakh people in our range, right? So does that mean that we are done? Does that mean that 1.2 lakh is our market? Let us add some bit of critical thought to it. Take a moment and maybe pause your screen if you want, but just tell me, where do you go from here? I have told you 120,000 people earn the money to afford. A lot more people can pay. We are looking at afford because we said 5% people will pay. People who have the ability and the capability to pay are the people who can afford. 1.2 lakh people can afford. Where do we go from here? Take a moment, let me know. Cool. So understand that these are only individuals, right? Now, again, one more aspect of critical thinking that you need. When you go back to the results, you can Google it for yourself. I would strongly urge that you do it yourself and get it. These are only individuals. Now, technical knowledge here is that income tax department has 7 types of persons. There is a natural person called as an individual. There is a company. There is an institution. There is a government body. There is a association of persons like BCCI. BCCI is also an income tax payee. Reliance is an income tax payee. So all these are also not accounted in our individual database, right? So you need to know that companies are included, right? For our example, if you just think about our example, can a stroller be a corporate expenditure? I don't think so. And let's not get into expenditures, what sort of expenditure comes in. But a stroller is not a corporate expenditure. If your product can be a corporate expenditure, let's say you're making a meeting tool, right? A very costly meeting tool. Then you also have to look at companies that earn this money, or even if companies that might require this money. So individuals spend what they can afford. Companies buy what they need. Major difference. Never shortlist a company based on their ability to pay, because a person is maximizing their utility from whatever money they have. I get 1,000 rupees salary every month. I want to maximize that, right? I want to get a stroller for my baby. I want to eat at a good restaurant. I want to invest in a startup, I want to buy a new watch. Very good. If I am a company, I am looking to maximize my revenue. If you have a B2B product, do not look at affordability only. Look at need. Look at what is the value you are giving to the customer. I'll give you a small example here. We don't have a lot of time to delve into details. Let's say you're making a B2B product where a company can filter out good and bad callers from their call center, right? A good caller is somebody who will buy something. A bad caller is somebody who's just complaining, right? Now a company might be making a revenue of 1 lakh rupees a month and your product might cost them 2 lakh rupees, right? Should you sell? Should you not sell? Definitely sell. Because if you look at the value for the company, it is much, much more. Why? The company can now make sure that good calls are routed to good people on the call center who can sell. Complainants can be given a long process to keep pressing something on the IVR, putting them on hold, and then coming to people who are not the best, and maybe delaying tactics can be used there, right? So because our product, example MG baby stroller, is only for individuals, we are looking at capacity to pay, capacity to afford. If we had a B2B product, it would be different, right? So every product is different, right? Okay, so this cannot be counted as corporate expenditure. Let's be clear, which means it is fine. I am just giving you a critical question. It does not apply to this particular case, but I'm giving you something that you should always think of, right? Okay, at least you can say so in front of our investors, right? So I feel this number is broadly fine in terms of the population that can pay for it, right? Now, other questions that you can ask your team, critical thinking in our case that apply. Do people who earn 60 lakh rupees a year have babies, right? If somebody is earning a salary of 60 lakh per annum, do you think this person is at a life stage where they have babies? Important question. I don't know what you think, but no IIM gives you a placement of 1 crore per annum as soon as you graduate. At 25, nobody earns this money. This is called fake news, okay? And even if there were, maybe there are 5 people in the country who earn this much at 25, right? Maybe there are 25 people who earn this much at 35, right? So which means your total target market is just 35, right? So think again. If people who can afford your product are probably in their 40s, 50s, CEOs, mature people, really, late adults, then do they even have these babies that you are giving these strollers to, right? But a good answer here is their kids might, right? So which means you are targeting grandparents now, right? So your segmentation suddenly moves from 25 to 35, jumps to 45 to 65. These are the people who have the paying capacity and the babies for which they might need your product, right? Critical questions. It came in easily because I gave it to you, but think harder about these things. Your entire segment, target, positioning, everything goes for a toss. You need to think who has babies, who is buying these things, right? Can this be a personal gift? Yes. Yes. A lot of grandparents gift things to their grandchildren, to their children, especially with babies. So your market is fitting there, right? I am still not saying 1.2 lakh is not right? You also need to think where these people buy these strollers, right? Maybe some of them go to Paris and go to Louis Vuitton and say, I want a stroller for my grandson, right? Or maybe somebody goes to Milan or New York Fashion Week and says to Dolce & Gabbana that I need a stroller for my granddaughter right now, right? If that is the case, you are playing the wrong game. Another question here, right? 1.2 lakh individuals earn this money. Does that mean 1.2 lakh households earn this money? Right? This is another critical thought. So, one, it could be that I and my wife both earn this amount of money, right? The other case is that neither of us earns, right? Usually we have to account for both cases. But in this case, because our cutoff is at earning 60 lakhs, if both of us don't earn, it doesn't matter, right? But if we both earn this, then this is 1.199999 households, right? So you need to assume that how many households are these individuals spread across, right? The flip side is also there. What about people who earn, let's say, 20 to 40 lakh, right? Let's say there are 4 people who earn 20 to 40 lakh, right? We can safely assume at least one of them is a couple. If one of them is a couple, then the joint income of the household should be taken for your 5% criteria, right? So this means you have to take into account both these things. If you are assuming that out of these taxpayers, husband, wife both are earning, it goes to, let's say, 10%, then 10% of the people out of 1.2 will be reduced to households, and 10% of the people who earn 20 to 40 lakhs will also increase. Getting it? From individual, we are going to household, because a baby is not for an individual, a baby is for a household, right? Similar critical thinking needs to be applied to your product also. Okay, these are just very few questions. These are questions that you ask at the beginning, right? This is why people say कि क्या आपने market study किया है? Because you need to know these questions. You need to deliberate these answers. You need to discuss these things. You know, a focus group discussion, of course, happens later. But if you are looking at something where you know people who have had a baby, ask your siblings, ask your grandparents, ask your parents, where did you buy a stroller? How will you buy a stroller? Are you thinking of buying a stroller? Maybe people think, yeah, strollers are very impersonal. I need that kangaroo jacket thing that comes in, you know, where you keep the baby here and you can just wear it and walk around. Maybe it's a declining market, right? So you need to keep asking critical questions, right, around all this. And also, of course, what are these people looking for? Are these people looking for flexibility? Are these people looking for, let's say, a color? So for example, I know like a lot of parents have that I want my child to have the best colors, or, you know, a lot of babies, by the way, respond to a few colors better. So you might have parents who are saying ki, I want purple strollers, or I want baby pink strollers. I want light colors. I have dresses that match with this. I have this pattern, right? So you need to ask these questions. This is the crux of market research. The questions in your head. How you solve these questions? What are the tools you need to solve these questions? This is the easy part. Asking the right question is the important part. Right? And of course, what cities are these people living in? So you know that there are 1.2 lakh individuals who are earning this money. Where are these people? Now, I can tell you top of my mind, without any research, I think a lot of these people are probably staying in metros. You know, they're probably in Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Bangalore, Kolkata, maybe some bit in Pune, very few in Chandigarh, very few in Ahmedabad, some in Kolkata, but that would probably be it, right? If you want to extend your reach, you can look at maybe capital cities. You can say that, you know, Ahmedabad mein hai, Bhubaneswar mein honge, kuch log Hyderabad mein honge, kuch log Vizag mein honge. You know, look at big cities. But then you know that your population is spread, right? And how will this come to hurt you? Let's say your target market is this, and there are 10 cities these people are in. Can you open a showroom in 10 cities? Can you open a showroom in 5 cities? If you are opening a showroom in 5 cities, your geographic reach goes down, right? How many people are there in one city? It will also impact your decision for a distribution network, right? If you had an online only distribution network, then you cannot target the rich. The rich would probably want to see and buy and get an experience, right? Costly purchase is about experience, right? If you have a very high-end showroom, then you can only open in as many cities because capital is limited, and the output you will get from each store will also, and you need to keep iterating it. you need to go back to your drawing board, as I like to say. Okay, I know we've closed it, but this is just for a mental closure. Just for a mental closure, I will take you through the rest of the steps, right? We already realized that these are the questions and this is how we do it. Just for closure, let us calculate the size. You know, I remember as a math student, a lot of times uh, we would say, okay, this question, oh, okay, I know how to do it. But our professors will always say, just still solve it. You know how to do it, still solve it, get an answer, right? So this is just to get that answer. So this was our formula, if you remember, right? We have already calculated population and proportion of the population that can pay, right? And what number is that? That number is 1.2 lakh, right? Now we thought of cities, we said maybe 10 cities. What is your reach? Let's say initially you can start in 5 cities, 5 of the 10 cities where most of your audience is, right? So that's 50% of the entire market. It says 50, it's 50%, right? Then of course the proportion of customers you can break away from competitors. You know, you are a new brand. Who is going to trust you? Let's say you spend a fair bit of money on this marketing. That is what you will have to account for in your capital again. You will have to give freebies. You will have to push direct sales agents. You will have to push in-store staff, right? What proportion of these customers can you break away from competitors? You know, some of these might be very conscious that my great grandfather got me a Swaburn stroller. I will buy a Swaburn stroller for my children. We only trust brand A. We only trust brand B. We want an international brand, or you know, we want an organic brand. We want a brand that does not pollute the environment. We want a brand that is 100% eco-friendly. We want a brand that has something for children, right? So all these preferences you need to account for, right? Think of any number. Think of it as 0.25, 0.3, whatever. You know, 0.3 is a big number, by the way, in your first year, right? So that gives you a total serviceable market of 18,000. This is the number. Take a moment, absorb this slide. 60,000 is the total market that you are reaching. Total people that you will ever reach based on your current strategy, right? Out of these, you can assume based on, you know, how many so customers you want to pull out. You get barely 18,000 customers. These are customers, of course. You know, you have a price point, of course, but 18,000 is your thing, right? Now, if you ask me, is 18,000 a big enough market? I don't know. I don't know. Is it worth your time? Is 18,000 into 25,000 the total amount that you will ever earn from this entire venture? Is that good enough? Will that justify the sort of effort you are putting in? Will that justify the expenses that you are making in this? I don't know. You tell me. By the way, the total amount comes to about 45 crores. 18,000 into 25,000 comes to about 45 crores, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, 45 crores, right? That is your total market. Is it worth your time? Let's say there are 2 founders. You have stores, you have expenses. By the way, 45 crores is your total revenue, right? So you need to see, this is my revenue. Broadly, these will be my costs. Is it good? Is it making money? Just to be clear, even if you make 5 lakh rupees in 1 year, it is not bad. You just have to decide if that is what you want. And there is nobody in the world who can tell you what this is. It is totally up to you, right? Value of assumptions. This is just for closure. Our market size could have been 30 times of this if we change our assumption. Same price point. Everything else is the same. Let us just change one assumption and see if we can get our market size bigger. We assume 5% of our monthly income. What if we assume 2% of our annual income, right? We've just changed one assumption, right? Price point is the same, cities are the same, everything is the same, right? If we change that, then our base goes to 41 lakh. There are 41 lakh people who earn enough to spend 2%, that is 25,000, of their annual income on this, right? So with 41 lakh of total people who can pay, we have a market size of 6.5 lakh, right? 6.5 lakh, by the way, is like a big number. 6.5 lakh, or 6.15 lakh, I'm sorry. 6.15 lakh into 25,000 is 1.5 into 10 to the power 10. 1.5 into 10 to the power 10 is the total revenue you're looking at if you change one assumption, right? Whenever you cover valuations, you will realize assumption is the basis of all valuation, right? Okay, moving forward, we've closed this one case now where we discussed the value of assumptions, your total market size, how we reach it. So one, if you Google market research, if you just Google market research, you will get a lot of tools, right? I've just noted down some tools here so that we can go over them briefly. You will see R, SPSS, Python, Tableau. You will see Google Analytics, data websites, Site Profiler, Alexa. These are all websites that give you a lot of data, right? Like, remember we were thinking about proxies. We were thinking if we do not get exact data for income, what else can we use, right? This is also what helps you with that. So for example, a very, very loose proxy for people who might probably be rich is how many people visited Forbes, how many people subscribe to Forbes, right? If you're looking for company data, how many companies visited the web page of Big Four consulting firms? How many companies, how many people take services from them, right? So when you're thinking of proxies, these websites will give you that data. The first bit is only for representation, right? I don't know how many of you know, but all these are statistical analysis and visual representation tools, right? So basically, you remember the funnel that we had last time for mutual funds, right? That is a way to visualize the data that you get from these websites to tell your customer, to tell your investor, to tell your own team, to tell yourself that, this is how it's going. Can I increase here? Can I improve here? Can I do something here? What other factors are there? It is a way to visualize things easily, right? Then of course you have SurveyMonkey, MailChimp. So what happens is once you start doing surveys, right? That is when you need these tools, right? That is when you say that, these are the tools that I want to use to collect data from people. Some of us might be researchers on this call. We all have used these to get our survey responses. Google Forms is of course great, right? So this is how you collect that data, right? So as I mentioned, the second thing is for secondary data. The third thing is for primary data, when you have to collect data from people, when you have to ask, okay, will Dr. Chitralekha tell me how many students approach her every year to say that, ma'am, I cannot attend all the classes, but I'm interested in the course. Let's say you're making like a recording lecture sort of a product. This might be something you want to know, right? So you can ask the 10, 20, 30, 50 professors on SurveyMonkey that how many people ask you for this question every year, right? So you get an idea. And how do you present this data or understand this data to make it much better for you to take a decision on it? You use Python, you use Tableau, it gives you a nice spread. So I'll give you one good example of how you can use Tableau. In our baby stroller example, we had these incomes, right? What if we could generate a map, India's map, that highlighted that these are the best regions where you have these rich people staying? It would help me decide which cities I want to start my centers in, right? What that will also help is, if I have, let's say, a lot of rich people in Mumbai, Navi Mumbai and Pune, right? Then I don't probably need to open 2 or 3 centers. I can open one center in Navi Mumbai. And if I have a good product, customers can come from all 3 points, right? If I have this sort of data available to visualize, a lot new things can come out, right? Similarly, if I have, let's say, all my rich people are staying at port areas, Kolkata is a port, Mumbai is a port, Chennai is a port, right? Then maybe I also need to think that my product better withstand a lot of humidity and moisture in the air. It should not get fungus on its cloth. It should be really nice, right? So when you do a visual representation of things, you get these new ideas, right? Using these tools is like one complete session for each tool. But again, I will come back to the same question. All these tools are useless if you do not have the right questions. You have to ask these questions. The only thing a machine can't do, a machine can't ask you questions. A machine can answer. So you need to know what to ask. Some helpful skills around this, of course, desk research. You should know how to Google well. You should know what to Google, what keywords might help. It always helps to know more. You should know where to get what. You should know basics of web crawling. And, very important that I cannot overestimate. You should definitely know logical thinking and guesstimates. Look up guesstimates. Guesstimates is a nice way. They would say estimate the total number of people who use bike taxi in Paris, right? Logical thinking is what we did. How many of these people are in a household? How many of these people have babies? Who has babies? Where do you get babies? Who pays for the baby stroller? Is this a good product, bad product? Like those things, right? And I guess we are at a close. Before we leave, I would want to leave these 3-4 things with you. We, of course, did market sizing, market study, understanding. We discussed some tools. We discussed where to get what. I want you, whenever you start up, whenever you have an idea, to look up people and products. Think of products. Like last time you thought of products for positioning. This time, think of products in a sense of, let's say, like I said, Zomato. So think of a product like Uber. How do you think Uber did their market sizing? How do you think Ola did the market sizing? How do you think Amazon did market sizing? How do you think Infibeam, our very own e-commerce platform, by the way, how do you think Infibeam did market sizing before we had internet in every household, right? Think of those things. Second, look up people who would know things. You would be surprised. The ecosystem is more than happy, very willing to provide things to you for free. They were willing to provide lectures, willing to provide knowledge, information, guidance, resources for free, right? Do this exercise for some known products. That is the best way to learn. Asking critical questions, there is one good way to develop practice. Just practice. Just ask critical questions. How many people use a gaming laptop? Alienware it is called, right? How many people use this? Do this and I think you should be good. My connect details. Just ping me in case of any issues. I'm on Twitter. A lot of you have already pinged me. You can leave a comment on the YouTube thing. You can let Deepan and the team at AICT know. And, some people also requested for this. The book on Amazon is starting up in India that I wrote some time back. It covers very basics of everything. We can make it free for today. A few people pinged me. We'll make the book free for today. You can get it. That's totally fine. You can ping me and you can let us know in case of any issues. We are here. Thank you. Right.
Thank you, Preet. Actually, it is a very wonderful session. And by using a case study and also giving the illustrations, how you have explained very well that how we will reach to final value, what actually we are looking for our product. So when you are explaining, I was also trying to assimilate, trying to understand certain concept. Also, I was scribbling certain things. So I made certain things in my paper. So what I did, but it's mirror image, so it's showing. So what I did, I made a funnel, and I started with the putting the population, and then coming to the right people as a segment. Then I came to the target customer, the size. Then I came to potential buyers. Then finally I check the need and the capacity to pay of these potential buyers. So I made a funnel that this is the things actually what I understood in your last session and this session. And I asked one question that who are the right and potential buyer of my idea, innovation, or product, or the services I am going to offer. So this is the question, and this is the way I try to make a funnel, and I try to come to the things. And finally, also I learned one thing that ask the right question to get the right answer, which is very, very important. And if you will not ask the right question, you will never get the right answer, whatever the answer you will get. So asking the right question is who one can afford is not the right question. What is the need of that person is the right question to start with. Then once you will ask the what is the need, after that you can come to a sub question, what is the affordability or the requirement or ability or not. So don't ask the question, don't start the question with affordability, ask the question at the need, then a sub question will come as the affordability. And then also I learned about latent need and the knowing need, and how this marketing research will help in coming down from latent need to from knowing need, combining this, and also coming to the latent ability to pay for the need. And finally this value is the final value is going to give us the some kind of a figure which will on which we can rely upon, and we can see that okay, this value is somewhat, at least we can say 70-80% is correct, and or on statistical term it is significant. So these are the things actually really amazing, the way in a very simplified manner, by using the examples and caselets you have explained this management jargons, because marketing itself is lots of jargons, and by combining marketing with startup and innovation, you made these two sessions very simplified way, because many of our listeners, the student and faculties, they are not from management background, they are from engineering or not even non-technical and arts and science background. And we are getting lots of feedback that these sessions are they are understanding very well without much difficulties. So I hope all will enjoy this session too, and also they will get they will also learn, also they will apply these learnings. Not only learning is not enough, once you will learn it, you have to apply on your idea, and your startup is very, very important. Actually, this is the actual point where entrepreneurs make a leapfrog compared to the common people. Common people also understand the concept, entrepreneurs also understand the concept, but entrepreneurs make leapfrog, leap jump. They apply it, and they experience it, and they can reapply it from the failure or the success, whatever they think. So they always try to achieve, they always try to do this process till they reach the goal and reach the objective. That is the ultimately entrepreneurs and innovators do. So we expect all of our students and faculties and staffs, those who are watching this session also want to become an innovator, entrepreneur, please watch all these sessions. And all the sessions are actually really, really very beautifully explained, also very, very useful for all. So please watch all these videos whenever you are getting free, and also post your feedback and contact the experts whenever you need any kind of support. All our experts are very down to earth personalities, and they always ready to help our students and faculties whenever they need. So with this, I thank Dr. Preet Singh for your time. Also, I will thank all of you for watching this session. Thank you. Jai Hind.